So I'm sure everybody who is alive today has at one point complained that there weren't enough hours in the day. Right now in 2022, there's been a lot of discussions about better working conditions, and people seem to think that they need a 4 day work week in order to have a 3 day weekend. I gotta challenge both of those things. How many hours are there in a day? Well, what is a day? I would argue, most people would say that a day is the amount of time it takes the Earth to rotate and for the sun to rise and to set again. No, I would argue a day is more of a social construct, right? It's how often you want to repeat your day to day activities sleeping, working, eating, recreational activities, you name it, right? It's how often you want to repeat those activities. And it doesn't have to line up with the Earth rotating on its axis, right? And I think during the pandemic, we all got to experiment with that a little bit. Now, what is a week? Well, it's also a social construct. Right? Actually, there is no astronomical week, right? And so if you want a 3 day weekend, why does it have to come at the expense of working one day? The trick answer is it doesn't. So I challenge you to think about this, right? Because so much there's so much resistance against the 4 day work week, but most people don't mind working 5 days, right? What they want is that 3 day weekend. I say, why not have both? Right, we can make the week 8 days and have a 3 day weekend every week. Now, about the schedule, now think about it this way. I got three complaints about the day being too short. First of all, oftentimes when it's time for bed, I'm tossing and turning. I'm not tired yet. Right? I could go on for a few more hours before I could crash into bed. Number one. Okay. Number two, I often don't have enough time to sleep. I alluded to in my last video how as a kid I had struggles with my family. My mom would wake me up, time to go to school, 5 more minutes, right? And I'm sure everybody has invented their language for not wanting to get up from bed. I prefer 5 more minutes because in Chinese, five is pronounced ooh, and it's real fun to say, right? Mom would say, come on, wake up, we gotta go to school. Ooh. My brother was 2 years old at the time, and ooh was the first word that he learned to say, but he didn't know what it meant. He thought it meant a delay or to procrastinate. He didn't realize it was an actual number. Okay, not enough time to sleep, not tired when you're ready for bed, not enough time for all the things that we love to do during the day, right? That's why a lot of people want shorter working hours. I would argue most people don't really want shorter working hours. They want more recreational hours outside of work. And the problem is, why does one have to be sacrificed for the other to happen, right? We could have 25 hours in the day. What it would look like, say you went to bed at 12 midnight on Sunday, being in terms of today's timekeeping system at least, and on Monday you went to bed at 1 a.m. See, when I was a kid, I had dreams of becoming an airline pilot or an astronaut. I remember thinking, God, if I became a pilot, I could fly one time zone west every day, and I could sleep beautifully. And the reason I thought that was because one year during spring break, I had nothing better to do, and I'm an introvert. I program on the computer a lot. At the time, I was fascinated with calculating millions of digits of pi. I was only 15 years old, but I had taught myself a lot of programming. And during that spring break, I kept sleeping later and later and later until by the end of spring break, my sleep schedule was a wreck. I was going to bed at 8 a.m. and waking up in the afternoon. My mom was so upset, and she took the computer away from me. And I'm thinking to myself, my mom's upset, the rest of society is upset. But gee, how did I do during that week? I crashed when I went to bed, straight to bed, no tossing and turning. I got enough sleep. I had enough time to program calculating pi. Obviously, I had a hard time going out because it was all the wrong hours. But I actually had a very good week. Why is everybody upset? That's what I'm thinking. I became very upset at everybody else because of that. Anyway, I thought I would clear up some confusion. There's no such thing as a 24-hour day. There's no such thing as a 7-day week. Think outside the box. Actually, I work at a tutoring center, And oftentimes I have very young kids who are learning about counting time, and I ask the kids, why do you think there are 7 days in a week? And a lot of kids will correctly point out there doesn't have to be. A lot of adults will argue with me, though. That's kind of weird.